Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you didn't belong even though you earned your place? That was how Maya Johnson felt the moment she stepped into the Olympic training pool for the first time, her heart pounding not from fear, but from years of fighting silent battles no one ever saw. And as her reflection shimmered on the blue water, she knew she wasn't just swimming for medals, but for respect. Coach David Miller stood at the edge of the pool, arms crossed, eyes narrow, voice sharp as he said she didn't look like a swimmer, his words slicing through the air while others laughed softly pretending not to hear. And Maya felt every stare burn through her skin, but she stayed silent, letting her pain turn into power. Her friend Lily Parker whispered quietly that she should ignore him, that the best revenge would be winning, and Maya nodded, her eyes steady on the water that felt like home to her since childhood. Every stroke, every breath, every second in that pool would become her answer to every insult, every doubt, every smirk. But as the practice ended, Coach Miller walked past her saying coldly that people like her never make it to gold, and the entire pool fell silent, waiting for Maya to break. She didn't, she simply whispered to herself that one day he would watch her name on a gold medal screen. That night in her small dorm room, she stared at her reflection and promised herself she wouldn't just win for herself, she'd win for every girl told she wasn't enough. The storm was building quietly, and no one knew that soon the same man who mocked her would be standing frozen in front of a crowd that would never forget her name. The next morning, the pool shimmered under the bright daylight like a mirror of truth and challenge, and Maya Johnson stood at the edge of it, feeling the same sting from Coach David Miller's words echoing in her mind. But this time they didn't break her, they fueled her every breath, every heartbeat sinking with the quiet promise she made to herself last night. And as the whistle blew, she dived into the water, slicing through it like a silent arrow, her movements smooth, fast, and graceful, her determination burning brighter than the sun, reflecting off the waves around her. The other swimmers tried to keep up, but Maya's rhythm was unshakable, every turn, every kick sharper than before, and Coach Miller's smirk began to fade, replaced by a frown that deepened with every second she stayed ahead. On the deck, Lily Parker clapped quietly, whispering that this was Maya's moment, but the coach barked orders, pretending it didn't matter, even though everyone saw the truth unfolding before them. When Maya finished her laps, she touched the wall far ahead of everyone else, her chest rising and falling with steady confidence, the pool silent except for her breath. She climbed out of the water and met Coach Miller's glare head-on for the first time, no words, just eyes locked in quiet defiance. He muttered that one good swim doesn't make a champion and walked away, but the tremor in his voice betrayed his fear. That evening during team briefing, he announced the names for the national qualifiers, his tone clipped and cold when he reached Maya's name, calling it like a mistake he couldn't avoid. The team clapped, but Maya stayed calm, her gratitude quiet, her pride burning inwardly. Later, Lily found her sitting by the water again, the moonlight touching her wet hair, and said that no matter what happens tomorrow, she had already proved herself, and Maya smiled softly, replying that proving herself wasn't enough, she wanted to change how people saw her forever. The next morning, media arrived, cameras flashing, reporters whispering as words spread about the young black swimmer making waves at trials, and Coach Miller looked increasingly uncomfortable under the growing attention. He ordered Maya to swim last, thinking fatigue would slow her down, but Maya didn't flinch. She stood tall in her blue suit and kept her eyes steady on the water, knowing this was more than a race, this was redemption. When her turn came, she dived again, the crowd roaring louder than before, every stroke cutting through the past, every lap silencing a lifetime of bias, until she touched the final wall, and the scoreboard lit up with her name at the top, golden and undeniable. The room erupted, but Maya didn't scream, she just looked at her coach, whose jaw hung open, unable to find words for the truth written across the screen. She smiled faintly, because she knew this was just the beginning, that the real stage was still waiting, and the gold was only a reflection of something greater: courage, resilience, and the strength to rise above hate. Her victory that day wasn't just in the water, it was in every eye that saw her differently after that, every whisper that turned into applause, and every doubt that drowned beneath her success. If you felt Maya's strength, her calm fight, and her quiet fire, then don't forget to comment what part of her journey inspired you most, and subscribe, because her story isn't over, yet more powerful stories of courage and victory are coming that will touch your heart and open your eyes. Day of the international swimming qualifiers arrived, and Maya Johnson felt the weight of every expectation on her shoulders, every glance, every whisper reminding her that some still doubted her place in the pool. And even though she had already won gold at the national level, the shadow of Coach David Miller's arrogance and bias lingered like a storm cloud above her calm exterior. And as she entered the Olympic Standard Aquatic Center, the sunlight glimmering across the water, she could feel the eyes of the crowd. The cameras capturing every movement, her every breath, a silent test of courage and skill. The other competitors eyed her curiously, some with respect and some with subtle judgment, and she could sense the unspoken messages in their posture, and the way some of the officials glanced at her like she might not belong. Yet Maya's body moved with the precision she had built through years of training, each stroke cutting through the water like a blade. She had learned to sharpen her focus to a level where nothing outside her lane mattered, and Lily Parker, who had traveled with her to provide quiet support, whispered encouraging words at the edge of the pool, reminding her that she was more than ready, and Maya nodded, letting that tiny flame of reassurance strengthen the resolve that had already carried her through countless moments of doubt. Coach Miller, watching from the stands with his clipboard and furrowed brow, attempted to mask the growing realization that Maya's talent could not be denied, and that his attempts to intimidate or control her had failed repeatedly. And as the race began, the water erupted with motion, every swimmer pushing to the limits, and yet Maya remained calm, steady, and unshakable. Her rhythm flawless, her mind laser-focused on the finish line where glory waited, and every stroke told a story of years of training, of resilience, of silent struggles in locker rooms and pools where she had been underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed. Halfway through the final lap, Maya could feel the burn in her muscles, the exhaustion threatening to break her, but she refused to let fatigue become her enemy. She summoned every ounce of strength and determination, remembering every whispered insult, every smirk, every biased glance, and she transformed it into speed and grace that left the world watching in awe. The crowd's roar grew louder as she touched the wall, finishing first, and the scoreboard flashed her name in bright gold letters, and for a moment time seemed to freeze as the audience absorbed the triumph of a young black woman who had been mocked and doubted, yet had risen to stand at the very top. Coach Miller's face was pale and tight with disbelief, unable to utter a single word, as the announcer declared Maya Johnson the champion of the international qualifiers, and her teammates rushed forward applauding her strength, courage, and focus, and Lily Parker embraced her, whispering that she had not only won the race, she had rewritten what people thought was possible, and Maya smiled softly, letting the tears threaten but not fall, and she raised her head proud and dignified, knowing that this victory was a statement not just about medals, but about equality, respect, and perseverance. The cameras captured the moment, every lens focused on her calm smile and radiant determination, and she knew that her journey was far from over, but today she had silenced the doubters and inspired countless others watching her across the world. And as she left the pool that day, she walked with quiet dignity, every step a testament to resilience and courage. And if Maya's journey of determination, strength, and triumph inspired you, comment what part touched your heart the most, and subscribe now, because the final chapter will reveal the ultimate confrontation and the moment where her courage changes everything for everyone watching. The day of the international finals arrived, and Maya Johnson stepped onto the Olympic pool deck with her heart steady, her mind sharper than ever, and every nerve alert to the energy of the crowd and the weight of expectation that pressed down from every angle. The stadium alive with bright daylight reflecting off the water and cameras flashing, reporters whispering, and spectators murmuring as if they were all trying to predict whether this young black swimmer could truly rise above the doubts and prejudice that had followed her since the very first lap. And Maya could feel the tension radiating from Coach David Miller in the stands, his arms crossed, jaw tight, face flushed with disbelief that someone he had mocked and tried to diminish could now occupy the center of attention and command the eyes of the world. And she glanced briefly at Lily Parker standing near the side, her calm encouragement giving Maya an anchor in a storm of whispers and flashing lights, a reminder that courage was contagious and solidarity was a shield. And as the whistle blew, the water erupted with energy, swimmers launching like arrows. Each stroke a battle, each turn a test of grit and focus, and Maya's movements were fluid, powerful, a perfect blend of speed, skill, and grace, cutting through the water as though it were an extension of herself. And every stroke carried the weight of every insult, every snide remark, every judgment she had endured, transforming past humiliation into momentum. And as she reached the halfway point, she could feel the lactic acid screaming in her muscles, exhaustion clawing at her, but her mind was a fortress of determination, remembering all the nights spent training alone, the countless early mornings, the whispers of doubt, and she summoned an inner strength that made her glide faster, sharper, surer, and every eye in the stadium could see the contrast between her calm, focused determination and Coach Miller's growing panic as he realized that nothing he had done could stop her, that no bias, no arrogance, no petty comments could alter the truth of her talent and preparation. Every flip turn, every kick, every breath was precise and controlled, a symphony of skill and resilience that left the crowd awestruck. And when Maya touched the wall for the final lap and surged forward toward victory, time seemed to stretch. The stadium collectively holding its breath, every judge, coach, and spectator realizing that history was being written before them, and that the young black swimmer they had underestimated was now claiming her rightful place in the sun. The scoreboard exploded in bright gold letters with her name Maya Johnson, and the stadium erupted, applause and cheers echoing like thunder, cameras capturing every expression of shock, disbelief, admiration, and awe. And Coach Miller's face went pale, his smug arrogance crumbling completely as he realized that mocking and trying to intimidate someone could never compete with talent, courage, and relentless preparation. And Lily Parker rushed into the poolside to embrace her friend, tears streaming as she whispered that she had done it, that she had shown everyone what true strength looked like. And Maya, breathing hard but standing tall, looked over at the crowd, the cameras, and even Coach Miller, and felt a profound satisfaction that went beyond medals, beyond trophies, beyond accolades, because this victory was a statement, a declaration that respect and talent were not determined by skin color, that courage and perseverance could silence the cruelest of critics. And as reporters and fans celebrated, Maya raised her head high, her quiet smile radiant, a beacon of hope and inspiration to every young athlete who had ever been told they didn't belong. And she knew this was a moment that would be remembered for years, a moment that transcended sport, a moment that changed perceptions, challenged prejudice, and inspired countless others to fight for their own dreams. And she glanced at Lily, whispered a small thank you, and realized that this journey had not only transformed her life, but also the way people around her viewed possibility. And for everyone watching, remember that courage in the face of doubt can move mountains, that perseverance can silence hate, and that no matter how many voices try to put you down, your skill, your heart, and your determination will always speak louder. So comment below what inspired you most about Maya's journey, and subscribe now to follow more stories of courage, triumph, and inspiration that will leave your heart full and your spirit motivated.